Hi guys. Alright, here's a conversation for you. This video is cute because I remember having this conversation with a friend of mine. It goes like this. I used to be a douche. I used to be three dots. Something I was proud of. I used to be, and its effects on saying it. The reflector behind a past existence. Now, uh, with this conversation, I was hanging out with a friend of mine who and her daughter, and we went hiking. And so me and the little one were energetic. We're going all over the place. She was like, "Oh man, I can't believe I've become this tired. I should get in shape." And she was like saying a lot of stuff. But ultimately, the whole at the end of the day, we went to the beach. And then after that, she was like, "I used to swim." And I remember it was the butterfly swim. I used to jump and do this kind of like action before diving. And I used to. And I was like, "What the fuck, man? Why would you say I used to?" Because ultimately, if you know how to do something and it's been a while, you kind of just need some time to warm up, right? If you kind of like activate like your muscle memory, they call it muscle memory, but in truth, it's neuron memory. Your muscles do lose strength, but your techniques are still there. Ultimately, like as you return to doing what you were doing, your entire body kind of like starts reforming into whatever it is that was perfect for whatever it is you were doing. And it kind of like is this the way if you see an old basketball player playing, like the first few shots doesn't really like get it properly, and then eventually you start seeing his movements again, and the body kind of has to rebuild its structure to start keeping up on all the shit. And so the idea behind it is like, this is basically I used to be a douche, and that's the truth, by the way, about me. And I used to be three dots, something I was proud of. I The only thing I was proud of was just being able to talk to anyone, man. And I don't know if that's the case anymore. That is still the case. I just don't want to talk to people. It's, Now a lot more thought goes into like, would I do it? Would I not do it? And I used to be, the title is I used to be and its effects. Like when we say I used to be, we're creating a distance. Like again, it's all in the mental space. The distance between, I no, it's separation. Let's call it a separation. Because effectively, what we're doing is we're creating a separation between who we are right now and who we were back then. And with it, like again, like if there's one thing, it's like no, I still know how to swim, right? Back in the day, did I swim better or did did I swim better easier? What's the difference? If I swam better back in the day, then now I'm not swimming better. Was I used to be let's just use one of those like lower. If we use it, for example, I used to be sad. Technically, you kind of like are creating the I'm happy right now because I'm no longer sad. I used to be. And maybe that's a positive outcome that we might look at when we're reflecting on something that we don't really like put higher up on what we want ourselves to reflect. I'm avoiding the word negativity because, like, on one side, I used to be sad, so technically I'm happy right now. On the other side, I used to be a good swimmer, and I remember that's what she told me. And I remember asking her directly, it was like, if you swam for like 15, 20 minutes right now, would you kind of like get in your groove? She was like, of course. I was like, so you're still a good swimmer. She was like, yeah, but back in the day, I had like basically I could breathe underwater for 3 minutes. I was like, yeah, because you spent every day for like 3 months every summer in a pool. And she was like, that's true. So every question I asked her, kind of like, she still sees herself the exact same way, but there's a deterrent that she created, which is that I used to be part. So from a positive perspective, she used to know how to swim. It's the comparison between then and today is kind of like demeaning, right? And since that's how we operate, we genuinely operate based on our view of ourselves. Why the hell would we kind of like incorporate the negative unintentionally? It's like a point of nostalgia that's useless. And I see it as I see it from a when you're having a conversation with somebody and you say I used to be, what triggers that normally is something they say or they do. Like if you're talking to somebody that's actually like reading a lot, your instant reaction is I used to read a lot, so we compare it. What if there's no point in reading? I know somebody who reads 2 books a week, but that's basically he's in its purity and academic. That's it. I know others that read for like 2, 3 weeks at a time, and then for like 6 months they don't like carry any book. Weirdly so, everything they read kind of like adjusts them, and they take like 6 months in order to kind of like figure out that adjustment and understand themselves. Do I know people like that, or am I that person? I think I am that person, but in a way, it has a lot more. I made this video once. There's a lot more credibility if I say I know people than if I say myself. But I wonder if that's the credibility that I see on my own. Because sometimes I read like 6, 10 books in like a month and a half, 2 months. And then for like 6 months, I can't look at a book. I just like look at all unfinished books and I go like, I will get there, I will get there. I wrestle between feeling guilty that I'm not reading because I have to read every day, or just kind of like okay with not reading because like I'm doing stuff instead of like reading. I don't know. But the title of today's video is I Used to Be and Its Effects. And it ends with the reflector behind a past existence. Who we are right now is definitely who we were at any point in time. And that's basically your ego kind of like presenting a certain characteristic. But the ego is consistently moving and is consistently trying to be the same while you are consistently changing. So a smart ego or an ego that's built with intention onboards small things on a daily basis in order to be able to feel the same without the traumatic effect of change. And I've discussed that once before. Any event is a traumatic thing because ultimately it changes. If you're considering something an event, it's going to change you. But some events are harsh events and some events are cool events. Oh, one of the most life-changing events for me was basically when my cousin got married because I was looking at him and I was very much, oh my God, he knows what he wants. I don't. And it was like a moment of pride when I was like, what am I feeling? I didn't know what I was feeling. And naturally, I first was like, am I envious of him? But I don't want to get married. So I'm like, he knows what he wants and I don't. So like, I'm inspired. And it's an interesting understanding once you kind of like articulate what the feeling is on your own instead of letting it simmer and sit there, because that kind of like gives you energy to more stuff. But back to the video, the reflector behind a past existence. Because who I am right now is not who I was back then. But whatever I'm doing right now is an environment that triggered a past self. And that self in the past basically is the reflector. Yeah, because it kind of it slips in and you go like, remember? That's how nostalgia goes. And that remember is basically somebody taking the same scenario in front of us and pulling it back to when we were actively working with it in a different way. So if you were present, you wouldn't feel nostalgia. Because ultimately, if you're present, you're only in the moment. You're not in the memory that this moment triggered. Which means you're not the reflector. The current you isn't the reflector, whether you're aware of it or not. Because ultimately, the the current you is impressionate enough. If you're present, everything is having an impression on you, but everything is also like you are letting go of every impression instantly. But if you're not present, then ultimately the reflector, which is basically a past self, a past interaction, a past ego, finds its way basically to create an impression on your current moment and your current moment. And that's basically like what nostalgia is. I'm thinking whether our attachment to nostalgia is based on is it based on our it is based on our current feelings that are unprocessed, because if we are present we don't have feelings. When I say we, it's the ego again. Like, how are you feeling right now is literally a now feeling, which means after 5 minutes it should be gone, unless the environment persists in making you feel that way. These feelings are a result of the environment. But if I leave and I'm still thinking of the environment, I probably will still be feeling that way. And that's the bigger gap thing. Like, these are small gaps, but ultimately, if unresolved, they create nostalgic effects. So our ego is always reflecting something, and that is the reflector. The more present we are, the less of an ego we have, or the more enduring an ego. Because like I talk about the ego as necessary, but also as like translucent, transparent. Like everything can pass through it without affecting it. But if our ego is built on top of our older egos instead of like built on the dismantling of our older egos, then ultimately the reflector will always exist, and every situation basically will create an opportunity for something to be reflected on. Naturally, I'm still talking about nostalgia. And here's a video for you.